Today I'm gonna be reacting to a video from the channel Holy Kool-Aid called Why the World Laughs at America. So I'm gonna be giving my commentary to what he's got to say. So right before, make sure if you haven't already to hit that subscribe button. And with that being said, let's get right into it.
Number 2. Loud overconfidence. This is probably what the world notices most, and thus it's the biggest driver of the American idiot stereotype. Look, everyone has knowledge gaps, and that's okay. But the American specialty is combining ignorance with certainty, loudly blurting out bullshit like we're the Dunning-Kruger incarnate. It is the verbal equivalent of a man who farts with the confidence of someone who has never before shit their pants. It's the guy who has never left Utah explaining what Europe is like to an actual European. Or the tourist who walks into a Bouchon in Lyon or a trattoria in Rome and asks where the real food is while searching for McDonald's. Or the loud American in Paris who, when encountering someone who doesn't speak English for the first time in their adult life, simply repeats the English words slower and louder as if sheer volume will magically install subtitles directly into the listener's brain. Now, before Europeans laugh too hard, have you met British tourists in Spain? Or have you seen a shit-faced Australian having a stag do in Bali? Or had to elbow your way through a busload of Chinese tourists in Thailand? The nightmare tourist is a universal species. And while I genuinely can't defend this one, there is a reason why Americans don't learn other languages. And it's the exact same reason that the Brits and the Aussies don't. English, one. It's the language of business, science, aviation, and the internet. When the entire world is busy learning your language, the incentive to learn theirs kind of evaporates. It's more convenience than stupidity. And on top of that, high school and college language classes in the US suck. Seriously, verb conjugation tables? Kill me now. Useless fill-in-the-blank homework exercises, and apps barking at you to translate ridiculous phrases for the 100th time, which no human since Mitch McConnell has ever said out loud before.
La chouette verte suce des couilles.
That is how you get people who studied 4 years of Spanish and can only ask you where the library is.
¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
Nobody absorbs a language that way. Real humans acquire languages the way a kid does, by hearing it in context, in stories, in shows you actually want to watch. Which is why I recommend today's sponsor, LingoPie. See, instead of treating language like homework, LingoPie lets you learn by watching real TV shows and movies from the countries where it's actually spoken. So you're not memorizing how some textbook writing nerd thinks that people speak. You're hearing how they actually talk, slang and all. And the moment that you don't recognize a word, you just tap it, you get instant translation, and LingoPie auto-saves it for later review. There's an AI coach that explains tricky grammar in context, and a pronunciation tool that listens to you speak and gives you feedback, so you don't end up accidentally loudly ordering a horse when you meant to ask for the bill. They've got over 3,000 shows and movies across 14 different languages, and it works on your laptop, phone, and smart TV. I actually bought their lifetime subscription well before they offered to sponsor the channel, so I'm pretty confident that you are gonna love it too. So, if you want to go from this, la vache est sur la table, to this,
Tu es dangereuse parce que tu rends toutes les autres femmes invisibles.
then click the link below to get a 7-day free trial plus 55% off their annual plan.
I was just gonna make a point on. Hi. I was just gonna make a point on how tourists, right? Because we've seen some stories come out of Mexico and how the tourists are at the pyramids, right? And so it does baffle me that those clips were there at the beginning, but it's nice that he touched on that aspect, that every single country has their problems as far as tourists goes.
Touch on that aspect. Yeah, typical American joke. But so I touched on the whole school system before, but something that he brought up about that I think it's important connected to his sponsorship is kind of like the what exactly you're being taught in some of these language classes. Because I took Spanish 2 years in high school because I was a lazy bastard and also because I wasn't taking school serious. And I remember not learning, but when I would be doing like the assignments and everything, and I would be listening to the Spanish being taught. I'm like, bro, I've never used any of this Spanish. You know, like I speak Mexican. I don't know what they're teaching. You know, this type of Spanish.
Was it the Spain Spanish, like vosotros and all that stuff?
It's a lot of that, but they claim that it's standard Spanish when in reality it's like not really. But I guess it's because like even in Spain, you know, you have your different dialects depending on like the geography. So I'm assuming it's from like the where like in Castile where the Castilian Spanish, as everybody knows it as, originated from. So I'm assuming, I don't know, I haven't studied that deep into like that region, but I'm assuming a lot of those words kind of come from that mixed in with like Andalusian Spanish, which is the Spanish that was brought over to like the Americas. But yeah, kind of like compared to like Mexican, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban, you know, a lot of the dialects that are spoken out here, not in Europe, the type of Spanish. And I haven't really talked to anybody who has. I've heard people complain about like French and Italian being taught over here compared to like the actual languages, like the dialects out in Europe. But I haven't heard enough. I haven't studied enough to really like say 100% that it's the same thing. Kind of touching on the whole tourist thing too that you even touched on. There's two things, and it's not that I'm defending or I'm justifying a lot of the this expectation that U.S. Americans, Canadians, Australians, New Zealanders, and you know people from the UK have when they visit some of these non-English speaking countries.
Right.
But who's to blame there? And well, who's at fault? I guess.
I think like every tourist, right, comes in with a little bit of entitlement.
There's like a lot of expectations from English speakers, I think. But I think there's also something to be said, and it's not. I take it back. I don't think it's to blame like some of these countries, but they know who to cater to, and if they know that you know U.S. Americans, Canadians, like people from the Anglosphere are their customers, or at least the ones that they tend to cater to, obviously they're going to push, you know, their workers, their services to be in English to cater to a lot of these tourists. So a lot of the time, you know, the tourists don't feel the need to have to learn like, you know, Spanish or Portuguese or Mandarin or Cantonese or Japanese or whatever. And but I would also say, I don't think that's every American, because there are a lot of Americans who are interested in the culture. Like someone like you, like you like Japanese culture. I'm sure that being a U.S. citizen, if you were to ever travel to like Japan, you would learn like the Japanese language in order to get over there and, you know, be able to.
I would have to.
Yeah.
Like you would have to. Like it's like I feel like if you're gonna live somewhere, right? I think that at the bare minimum, you should at least take the steps to know their language wherever you're going to live, right? Like, if I were to go back to Mexico, then I would start picking up Spanish again. But not like the old way that we used to do it, right? Like, I would immerse myself, like, deeper into it, right? Because obviously their Spanish is a lot different now than it was some years ago.
Yeah. And the Spanish that we speak over here is a bit different than the Spanish being spoken over there, to a certain degree.
You're not.
And lastly, before we get into the third point of his, I think the uncomfortable truth to touch on is the fact that a lot of Americans tend to see other people from other cultures and countries as lesser than us. And I want to say that the majority of us aren't like that, but there is unfortunately a big majority that are like that. And that doesn't just go for all those, oh, it's just the white people. because there's a lot of black people that also tend to look down on other people, other people from like different African countries. But there's also people who are descendants of immigrants here in the U.S. that tend to also do that. Go like Hispanics that go to Latin American countries, where their ancestors came from, or even like I've heard like South Asians, that go back to like the countries of their parents or their grandparents, and they feel superior or they start looking down. It's a very discriminatory type of mindset that I feel it runs rapid here in the US. And I can only speak for us here because that's all I know. I'm pretty sure that
It's very
yeah,
it's very privileged.
yeah,